Let's go.
You're listening to Making Data Simple, where we make the world of data effortless, relevant, and yes, even fun.
I have my team here in enablement, and they've been putting AI to work. I've got Paul Zikopoulos, I've got Matt Bateson, I got Kyle Sava, and I'll let them introduce themselves in a minute. But as a quick introduction to this one, these folks are using AI daily. They're using AI for personal productivity as well as our organizational productivity automation. We do some work at IBM called Client Zero work. That means we're using our own technology for our own benefit, whether that's AI automation to better ROI, whatever the case may be. But they've put AI into action through enablement. Again, they're using it day to day. It's amazing. And it kind of embodies starting small as well. When I talk to every client out there, and if you're a client of ours, you probably heard me say this, we just start. That's all you have to do. Just start. They've done that and they've continued to grow. And we'll talk about some of the technologies that they're building, or one specifically in a product we call Clarity. What we'll describe today is how they're using that with AI in enablement. And as you listen, the one thing I would ask you to do is think about all the different use cases you can apply to this situation. This is one, but they're really endless. What I find happens, and it's kudos to you guys, every time I go talk to a client about Clarity, and we'll describe it, it's a tool for enablement for training our both internal and external community. But people get enamored with the tool itself and say, well, how can I buy the tool? Which is great. I mean, that's a testament to what you guys have done, right? The issue is, though, I said, but it's not about the tool. It's about all the endless possibilities you can do in the same vein. And I've even showed it to my friends. And they're like, I need the tool. Yeah, I know you need this, but this is one of many, right? I mean, you can apply this in any different way. We get so micro-focused on what we're seeing, which I guess outlines the priority around showing and not telling and how it works. But look, it's really about how you can put AI to work, and they're going to describe that today. I'll also have them describe some of the architecture so you really get that view and you can apply it to other use cases. But before I do, let me do some quick introductions. We got 3 people on the call. Like I said, we got Paul, Matt, and Kyle. This is always difficult. Counting me, that's 4. So we're going to be talking over each other the whole time. It's going to be a mess. You guys listening are going to love it. Paul, I'll let you go first. You've been on the podcast before. Thank you for being here again. Please introduce yourself. What have you been up to?
Well, back in the podcast, Al, I appreciate it. You said if I made my 5th appearance, I'd get a jacket. So I'm looking forward to that for Christmas.
Is this the 5th one? You get a jacket for this?
One. I do.
Really?
I do.
Not like you're counting.
I'm here.
Okay, cool.
It's gonna go with my tattoo I have of you on my arm. But anyways, moving along, 31 years at IBM, lots of years in dev, PM, ran tech sales. And then we went over to drive this mission, how to skill up the many. It's really what is challenging all our customers today. So that's where my focus is. And I got the pleasure of recruiting, leading, and working with folks like Matt and Kyle, where we really start putting AI to work. It's the old adage, everyone else is kind of doing plus AI, where they take existing workflows and add AI to it. And our job really, Al, is to make it AI plus, really rethink enablement, seller productivity, how we learn, new modalities of learning. And that's what we're doing. It's been a fun time.
That's exactly why you're here. You're also a workout buddy. I mean, you do a lot of exercises, right? I talked to you about this the other day. What were you telling me the other day? I got to have you tell the community the same advice you gave me. What did you tell me?
I gave you 2 pieces of advice. One is I told you the other week I had a fever of 102 and I had to present. And I poured some Dayquil on some Greek yogurt and ate it. I actually posted on LinkedIn, got 40,000 views. I think I've discovered something new. But let me tell you what the big thing was. You know, this year we've had, like every year, ups and downs. And there's 2 things that have increased my resiliency. It is spending 15 or 20 minutes a day stretching. So this neuroscientist was telling me you keep stress in your hips and in your shoulders, and then spending 15 minutes a day on gratitude. So I walk around for 15 minutes and I really account for what I'm grateful for. Even in a bad situation, I'm like, this is this, but wow, I'm so lucky because of this. I don't know if I'm playing mind tricks, but it's really changed my ability to handle things and sleep at night. So there you go. Those are my tips.
Those are good. I don't know about the yogurt one, man. I'm a little bit iffy on that one. And if you had a fever of 105, maybe you should have been
102.
Home.
Yeah. 105, I would have been hallucinating like ChatGPT. Yeah, I know. It was 102. So
you're probably getting a lot of people sick. You're part of the problem, I think, at that point in time. But I do practice not every day, almost every day. I try to do it every day. I try to think of 3 things I'm grateful for, and I do write them down. You gave me the challenge of stretching for 20 minutes. Dude, that's a long time to be stretching. I did like 5 minutes, and then I was thinking, I don't know what else to stretch.
I'll show you parts you didn't know you had, Al, when you start stretching.
I guess. Next up is Matt Bateson. Why don't you introduce yourself, Matt?
Thanks, Al. I think maybe he was stretching the truth in addition to some of the trying to find something funny just so I can come in after such great introductions. I feel I'm with podcast and business royalty and AI royalty here. So
yeah, whatever.
Really privileged to be here. Thank you. From the UK, as you can probably tell by my tones.
I thought you were just making that accent up, but it's legit,
it's
right?
hard to keep up on a daily basis when you have to.
He's really Cajun. Yes. He's just hiding
it. All right, keep going. Sorry to interrupt. I gotta go. Shut up.
You're good. So, been with IBM for around about 18 months now, maybe a bit longer. So on the other end of the spectrum to some of you guys, I spent a lot of my career in enterprise applications and software, working with lots of different clients. And I guess being alive at this time is a privilege for someone like me who's interested in all this geeky stuff, and really how we can use technology to bring business value. So really looking forward to the discussion, and can't wait to get into a bit more detail around how we do this stuff.
Is that an amplifier behind you there?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's a Marshall Silver Jubilee, which was made famous by probably not made famous by Slash, but Slash used it in Guns N' Roses as one of his
Is that his? Did you steal it?
This is not his. No, I didn't steal it, unfortunately. I think his one's a bit bigger than that one. That's like a baby version. It keeps the family and the neighbors.
And you're in a band? You're in a band, is that right?
Yeah, I try to play as best as I can. I'm in a band with some friends that I've been actually went to school with. So we've been friends for 30 odd years.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good. It's good fun. You have to do these things to you keep yourself sane, right?
What instrument do you play? Guitar, bass, what?
Yeah, we play the guitar. So we don't actually have a singer in our friend group, which is the slight flaw in this. So we have lots of musicians. So the singing, myself and another guy are the singers. We get away with it. It's okay.
I'd like to make a suggestion. Why don't we put some AI behind some of the vocals on your band?
Yes.
Let's add that to Clarity, Kyle. New feature coming in.
That sounds good.
Look, and I don't want to spread rumors here because I'm out, but I was in a band in college and I was the singer. So for what it's worth, I think you should use AI. All right, Kyle, you're up, man. Last but not least.
Sounds good. All right, so thanks for having me, Al. I think you can tell I'm the 22-year-old on the call because I don't think I've stretched in maybe 4 years.
Because you don't have to.
No.
Yeah, you didn't have to back then. You will, though. Just know that you will.
We'll see when it comes. But so my history, I like to tell people I've been at IBM for 3 years. It's a bit of a lie because I've been a full-timer for a year, but my first internship was back in 2022. That's actually when I met Paul, so I'm a Canadian kid as well, up here in the Markham lab in IBM Toronto. I was a tech seller for my first year of being full-time before I moved over to Paul's team to work on this project as like the full-time manager and technical lead on it, which has been such a blast.
Dude, you're in the wrong business. You should be doing some voiceover work, I think. That's what you need to be doing.
Yeah, I definitely have a face for the radio, as some would say. So,
wow. I mean, look, I'm going to have to record you. Speaking of AI, I'm going to record your voice and just put it over mine. Fantastic. Very nicely. What do you do for fun, Kyle? I mean, Paul stretches. Matt plays guitar. What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm blessed to have 40 million hobbies. I got one of them on the jacket right here. Diehard Blue Jays fan. So I watched, I think, every single game last season. Big sports guy all around. On top of that, I love playing sports. So I play tennis pretty religiously. I love playing football. Have some flag football leagues I do in the summer. Basketball, pick up all the time. I was top 50 in chess in Canada. I still love to play chess, so I do that quite a bit. Yeah. List goes on and on, though. I got a lot of stuff that keeps me busy.
Do you use an app for chess?
I do, yeah. Chess.com and Lead Chess.
Which one do you recommend, chess.com?
Yeah, chess.com generally.
You pause there for a second. There must be a better one.
There's kind of like a fight going on. It's a duopoly of the chess sites. So it's Lead Chess or chess.com, and usually people do not play with both. I was a Lead Chess guy for like 6 years, and then recently I've switched back to chess.com because they have better puzzles.
For somebody that's not top 50, what do you recommend?
It's not top 50 anymore, but chess.com is definitely an easier place to get started. They just have a whole UX around teaching people how to play chess. So it's a really good, it's a good place to start if you're trying to get into it.
All right, guys, you guys are responsible for learning amongst many other things, but I wanted to start there if you would. Tell me about learning. What is the mode of operation these days in learning? How do you accelerate sellers in this case? But how do you, what's your, mission objective around learning? What do you think the best way to teach these days is?
I'll go and then I'll let these two talk about how they've kind of put in their great things. One of the cool thing about the three of us is we all come from different backgrounds, different demographics, and bring all these ideas together. For me, it started with how do we change for the modern world to change the modality of learning? And the guys will talk about dynamic generation of podcasts and videos, and so that we could engage learners and be more curious and be more tailored to what they're after. Like I always talk about, Al, this learning curve where you take a course and then you get the forgetting curve, right? You know, life goes on. You spent 2 days in a course, you're going to forget a lot of it. And then how do we get to scramble learning? And that's when we really have an engaged seller, because they're scrambling to get ready for an event, for a client on a new technology they've forgotten a little about. So those are the kinds of areas we look like. And then the other one is we want to stroke curiosity. I think that's the biggest issue right now. When you think about what a large language model is, it is an index of the entire internet. All of knowledge on the internet is in a large language model. So get people to be curious, come across a word that I don't know. Let me ask about it. Let me dig deeper. Let me come back out of that and then continue. So it's nonlinear learning. And that's the big thing that I've been on. And these guys are codifying it and doing a wonderful job.
Matt, Kyle, what would you add?
I think learning the way we've been doing it is kind of broken, without being too bold. And I'm talking specifically about
Sounds pretty bold.
employee learning, employee enablement. I mean, we used to do in-person workshops and training, and it's high cost. And then kind of, COVID happened and everything went online. And we've got self-paced training now. And I watch videos for 2 or 3 hours about a topic. I can barely remember what I took from a film that was 2 or 3 hours long that I really enjoyed. Let alone learning about a product or a particular technology for 2 or 3 hours. Now, if my goal is to learn and that's part of my identity, I want to be known as the person who knows everything about a particular topic, that's a different type of motivation. But if I have to learn different products or different topics or different subjects because I've got to go into a meeting, or I need to be credible the next day, or I've got to perform in a particular way. So learning is the underlying necessity to achieve an outcome. There really is no way for me to do that quickly and effectively. And really, that's the problem that we were initially trying to address with what we've called Clarity, which is how do we really accelerate learning and knowledge acquisition and practice in a remote environment in a really short space of time.
Kyle, what do you have to add?
Yeah, so these guys, hit the nail on the head. But the thing I'd add to that is just it's a blessing to be in the time that we're in technologically, because we are so enabled to be in this space of scramble learning, and that space of, I have this coming up, let me get the necessities of what I need to accomplish that task in a very rapid and efficient way. And that is at the core of what we built with Clarity, but none of that is possible without where the industry is with AI and being able to focus on this kind of AI plus centric approach to learning of, we are going to throw you into scramble learning. We're going to throw you right into the end of what you need to know for the thing that's coming up. And we're not going to give you that 2-hour course about some random thing that you probably won't have to know about for 6 months. We're giving you what you need when you need it because of AI.
Do you think, I'll start with you, Kyle. Do you think people need to pay for learning these days? There's so much available. Do you need to pay or not?
I'm confident in the answer being no. That being said, there's some really good tailored stuff out there, but ChatGPT is free. You can do a lot of learning just having a conversation with any LLM chatbot. On top of that, open internet, there's so many valuable resources out there. It's a two-edged sword, because I think there's so much value in the curated content that we have available internally at IBM, and I don't think that is achievable at the scale that we have it on an enterprise level without some level of investment from the business, at least. On an individual level, I taught myself to code. There is so much out there on the internet available to us that you just need to be curious enough to go find it.
Matt, what do you think? You agree with that sentiment, or would you add anything? Where would you pay for learning?
Yeah, I'm trying to think back where have I paid for learning, and I think
that was where I was going to go next. Actually, I was going to challenge you guys and see when's the last time you paid for learning.
Yeah, I'm not sure I have enough knowledge and experience to answer the question of should we pay. I don't even know if there is an answer, should we pay for learning, right? I think presenting people with options is always good. I would pay for learning when it's a topic that I really want to master. I want a certification for it, right? So I did a neurolinguistic programming course a little while ago. I was just curious about the topic. I did it at weekends, and there was, it was a physical. It was virtual, but there were real people on the other end of the Teams call that I was on. I don't think I would have learned or had the same experience, even though it was virtual. I wouldn't have the same experience if I, kind of had a free version and I did that with an online training, company. So I think it's the age-old thing, right? The MP3s and everything took over. People still want to buy vinyl, right? Because there's still a space for those experiences. So I think a bit of both is the right answer.
Paul, you finish it up. Yeah, I know you have an opinion here.
I listen. I think there's a space for fee and for free learning. I think the non-linear learning is absolutely in the free space. I think Kyle hit it on the head. You can go learn anything these days and go and drive into that. I did think Matt was hitting on something cool, and that was What if I want some kind of accreditation or credential? I think that matters. I think there's another dynamic modality like face-to-face for certain things. We're doing this architectural training that you've been a huge part of, Al, and you could see the difference when it's face-to-face on the things that we're teaching. So depending on what we're teaching, that can matter. I think there's something to be paid for there. I will tell you one truthism. Someone's always paying. Every time Sava gets on a model and inference, someone's paying a bill. So it's not if you pay, it's did someone pay for the learning? Is it going to be you or someone else? But I think the other thing that I'd like to see more of, I take a lot of free learning from the IBM courses on Coursera, IBM Learning, deeplearning.ai. Then I pay for courses from IBM and other folks. I have an expectation of working when I pay. And I think that is a big delineator for me. So like when I go to medium.com, I find some article. I just did this like 3 weeks ago. I downloaded this thing and it wasn't working because someone had posted it. And all of a sudden, open source changes and no one cares about if they backbreak whatever they got. So all of a sudden their demos didn't work. So I'm halfway through this learning. It doesn't work. I start trying to figure it out, realize that someone updated a Skykit learn parameter from visualize with a Z or a Z. It's Z in the States, right? We say Z. What do you say, Matt? Z or Z?
I say Z.
Z?
I say Z. I say
it's
Z.
It's got to be Z because think of the band ZZ Top. They wouldn't be cool. ZZ Top is cool. So we'll agree to Z. But anyways, they changed that to S. So I don't know what Commonwealth-born committer was changing stuff on there, but it broke the whole course and I couldn't get through it and I had to go figure it out. That if I'm paying, let me say it this way. If I'm paying, I have an expectation of perfect. And I'll leave it at that.
So I got you. Like my view of training is, somewhere in the middle. But I do agree there's so much available out there today that you need to be purposeful when you decide what you're going to pay for. I do think there's 3 buckets. If I'm thinking it from where I'm sitting, there's like a lead to IBM bucket. Like that's more of a marketing training. And for the most part, it could be free, but there could be some fee based. It depends on what you're learning there. Kind of like a master class could be fee based. Then there's product training. I think that's free. I mean, everybody should know about the product. The product should just work. And if you got training, you give it out there and you push it free. And then there's like deep training, like you were talking about, Matt, experience training. And when you're going to get credentialed, and it goes that deep, I think there is a place for fee based. But I get your point too, Kyle. There's a lot of training out there. And sometimes I get in the trap of like, why would I pay for this? Because there's so many opportunities available here. But at the same time, if you want to go deep, a lot of times you do have to pay. And you did reference, Paul, something that we're doing here at IBM called an Architectural Advantage class. That is a face-to-face 3-day class, and it's amazing. And look, there's still a case or a place for face-to-face in this case because it's very intense. You've got to be whiteboarding at your desk while you're learning. And if I was doing that remotely, I think maybe I just have ADD or something. I'd be like, Paul's calling. Oh, I got to do this. Oh, somebody hit me on Slack. It's over and over and you get distracted. When you're face to face, there's a little bit of a gamification that happens with your peers in there, particularly if you've got to get up and you've got to show your whiteboard, you learn a lot. So I think there's a little bit of a mix here. I do agree with you. But that brings me to AI. And you guys are doing a lot of training with AI in a product that we have internally at IBM called Clarity. And I want to talk about that. But the first question I'm going to ask on AI itself, and then I'll get into Clarity. What can AI do with training today? But more importantly, what can it not do? Where does it stop? Who wants to take that one? And I'm really interested in the latter part of that question because I think that's the tougher one. Kyle, why don't you go first?
Let's do it. I'll start with the latter part because it's something that I'm pretty passionate about. This is an area that I do a lot of research. I play with a lot of models and the cutting edge of everything. The ability to seamlessly merge multimodality and specifically OCR models with like a standard language model is something that I think is really lacking. So like if I want to build something out, and we've thrown this idea around of like, I want to do a demo and I want to be graded on how well I did the demo, how long I should have stayed on this screen, when I should have clicked here. I think that's one of the biggest voids in the current state of these models that are out there is the intermingling of the contextual data of language with the visual data of something else I'm presenting. That could be my screen, that could be my face as I'm talking to you right now, but the intermingling of those in a way that we could operate on them to evaluate you on a demo or to even do a demo, right?
So you don't think it's ready yet? Is that what you mean? I mean, it's not quite there?
I don't think it's quite there. I think it'll be hopefully 12 months, but I think that's one of the biggest voids in the current state of the models.
Why is it not there? Is it a limitation in large language models? What is it?
I think it comes down to the architecture of the language models being just the easiest and lowest hanging fruit is this sort of method of tokenization and actually building out a model that's strictly dedicated to language. And a lot of the approaches that we've seen to make those models multimodal isn't multimodality at the core of the model. It's actually a kind of hacked solution of let's take an image and then pretend that it's text and then operate on it. Like we need to kind of start from the ground up to make the model that's going to understand this photo of my face talking to you the same way it's going to understand the words that I'm saying to you. And I think that's just a breakthrough that needs to happen in the model space still.
Because I know there are visual models out there. By example, you can, and we've done this for fun, like take a picture of me meeting with clients, and I can ask the model who's paying attention in the room and who is not. And at least it knows enough to be able to give you some good insight there. And it'll say, like, I'm distracted, this person's confused, whatever the case may be. But you still don't think it's enough, huh? Just not quite there.
Not quite there.
All right, what about you, Matt?
I think Carl gave a great response, right? So just building on that a little bit, I think kind of AI at the moment, if we think about the chat kind of centric experience that generative AI kind of manifests in, it's a bit transactional. I've got a question, I can get an answer. And I can get great answers, right? And I can have really specific and questions about a particular client that I'm working with, maybe. And as long as the AI's got the context, it can do a great job of answering that. And it can go. We're actually working with Clarity to do a lot more than just those things, and we can cover that. But if I go to the other end of the spectrum, if I want to kind of start with a zero knowledge and go to a position where I can achieve a certain outcome, let's say I can code, for example, can an AI teach me to code just in kind of one place? Probably not. I can ask questions. Hey, how might I code something? And it can give me some answers. But it's not really thinking about how I'm building layers of knowledge in my brain and how each step should build on each other. It's not designing a learning experience for me at that point. So it's not being very strategic in how it can achieve its outcome. Now, as I say, we are doing things to try and address that. So having like dynamic learning plans where you have multiple AI generated lessons with multi-modalities. So you could have some podcasts, you can then do an AI driven role play to find out how much you know, and then the AI can then build you another lesson. But it's not anywhere near what we might traditionally experience as a really great you mentioned the 3-day architecture advantage workshop, right? It would be very difficult to have an AI experience built on the fly that was really considering how you were acquiring knowledge, building that up over that period of time. So I think we're still very much in this transactional mode, which is not really a huge issue right now because there's so much value in that transactional mode anyway, right? Mm-hmm. And how we're seeing people using Clarity, it doesn't need to be very strategic to add a huge amount of value and bring a huge amount of time savings and efficiency gains in how people learn today anyway. But I think that's really where we want to start leveraging AI more, is in those kind of more strategic learning experiences.
All right, I got you. And lastly, Paul, and I'm going to pivot to Clarity directly after this. Anything that was not said that needs to be said here?
Yeah, listen, there's a lot of snake oil AI out there. So the world isn't ready for just trusting AI completely. Think about visual recognition of a seller. You might detect downcasting. Well, what happens if I'm neurodiverse, right? Then you're going to rate me to the norm, or what is the average that's trained on the corpus of data. You probably can't even explain to me what it is. So I think there's enough nuances in there to say that it shouldn't be on its own, but it should be with human in the loop. I mean, Al, you're a golfer. Did you buy one of those Callaway AI built drivers? Did it help your game at all? You still slice it 20 yards out on the right? So
hey, I don't. I've corrected my slice, man. I didn't need AI for that. I hit it like 300 yards straight into the woods.
But anyways, I think the big thing I'm about is what Matt ended with, and that's about engagement. We don't have to be perfect to engage. And if I can engage and create that curiosity, then I can connect you in. So the AI doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be different and engaging. That's what I would add to that.
Well, so that brings me to Clarity. It took us like nearly 30 minutes to get to Clarity, but I really think the tool that you guys have created is amazing. Despite any limitations, it is really, really good. Paul, why don't you give the explanation on what Clarity is and describe it to the audience here?
Wow. All right. That's a heavy ask. I'll do it in 1 minute. I will tell you first, let's call it Project Clarity. We'll just call it Clarity. Hint, hint, hint. But we're clearly turning some heads here. You mentioned it earlier, some client zero. Every client I talked to, you mentioned it earlier, they asked if they could buy it. Been with PNC Bank, UPS, the RCMP, the UK government, and on and on and on. So Clarity has two sides. One is a production facility, and that's what I'm going to comment on. And I'm going to turn it over to Matt. He can comment on the other side, because that's the more exciting side for Scramble Learning. The production facility, though, Al, is AI at the core for how can we create assets quicker and at scale. And multimodal. So if you think about before, if I needed to go train a bunch of people on what are the open source technologies underneath a typical data lakehouse, Orc, Parquet, Presto, Iceberg, et cetera, I would take an SME and they would take about 1 to 2 months and they would go and create this great script and material where if you read it, you could do great on. We wanted to pivot that and let AI assist. And we started doing those exact scenarios, whether it's a new technology like HashiCorp that IBM acquired. We want to teach people platform as a service or infrastructure as a service, or whether it's these kind of open source technologies. And within, I would say, 1 day, you had a solid draft. Why? Because this inherent knowledge is in an LLM. It knows what Parquet is. It knows what the ACID properties of a database are. So then we take that expert, human in the loop, and I want them to punch up that final 20%. The AI gets us 80% there in a day versus 6 weeks. And now the SME focuses on the punch up. And that has been our breakthrough. And that really is the breakthrough of AI use cases across all kinds of services professions. If you're a lawyer, the initial research and case review. If you're in accounting, trying to move your life really from preparatory services, which is a race to the bottom on margins, to advisory services. So from the production side, that's what we've done. And we put AI to be able to produce video, podcasts, slides, explainer slides, script a slide, translate a slide, and even have an agent come in. If I translate this deck to Japanese and the characters, because it's double byte character space, starts to flow off the page, an agent can go in and correct that. So that's from the content creation side, which Project Clarity isn't getting a lot of knowledge for. But boy, oh boy, it is groundbreaking. We've shown it to people and their jaws drop. And then they drop even more with what Matt and Kyle are going to talk about on the front end. So that's the part I'll talk about. And you take it from there, Matt.
So I guess imagine you're a salesperson. Right, and I have a lot of empathy for salespeople. You're trying to solve the problems for your clients, right, by connecting the solutions and technologies that you've got to their business pains, right? You're adding value. But you've got 100 different products you could sell, right? And maybe you've only got 10 different products. There's still a lot of different products. And the client's expecting you to know about all of those in enough detail for you to articulate the value and actually really help them solve their business pains or unlock value. How can you do that with 100 different products, right? So I've got a client meeting coming up, or I want to go and speak to some clients that I've got in my territory. How do I learn 100 products? Well, I can't. So then I maybe choose a few. Well, how do I choose a few? What insights am I using for that? Well, I'm probably going to go with what I'm hearing and feeling. So I go to the learning management system to learn this stuff, and every product I want to learn has got 20 hours of videos that I have to watch and slide decks to download. It's it's impossible. They're in a really tricky spot. And that's really the problem that Clarity solves. So imagine actually having an expert AI available 24/7 that can do two things. It can give you highly accurate and complete knowledge, and it can also help you practice and really embed that knowledge at such a deep level that it's not just about getting a response from a chatbot. Great, but actually I can go and listen to two people, two AIs actually having a conversation, not just about a product, but I can enter my client's business pains, or I can upload an annual report for that client. And we're then going to start thinking about how can we solve those business problems. And as a listener, as the person listening, I'm learning, and then I can ask questions, actually asking questions to an AI podcast and getting answers immediately generated on the fly. Then being able to it's one thing to know something in your mind, but then articulating it is a completely different thing, right? As you can probably tell from how we're speaking or how I'm speaking on this podcast. Talking with impact, being able to articulate things in a clear and concise way is critical. It's not enough to just know the answer. So being able to practice and having a safe environment to do that as a salesperson before actually going and making a call or going into that meeting is critical. So using AI to build my delivery skills as well as my knowledge at the same time and having those things together is really key. And that's exactly what Clarity has been built to do. And that's what it's doing for sellers.
Awesome. Look, as I said at the beginning of the podcast, it's more about the technology right now, because I think a lot of the external listeners here will say, hey, where can I get Clarity? We could show it to you, but it's internal for now. It's not released. It's not a released product. But it's more about what you can do with AI and what these folks have done with AI. I brought up Clarity here internally. And by the way, guys, I use it all the time. And I'll describe it a little bit to the listeners here. And if you're internal to IBM, you guys got to be trying this thing out. But first thing you do is you come in, you do create a new session. And you've got several choices. You've got learn IBM technology. You got build pipeline. You got to work on a deal, negotiate and close a deal, and a knowledge sandbox. Kyle, you know about these sections. Why so many? There's 5 or 6? Did I say 5 or 6 sections there? Why? What's the difference in the sections to begin with?
Yeah, paint a bit of picture of that. Let's take a step back. Imagine Paul in university, right? That's some 500 years ago.
Oh God, he did. Yes, he wasn't paying attention.
Listen, I need to interject.
He wasn't the Paul he is today.
I need to interject for 1 second. He's going to say I'm in university 500 years ago. Kyle's coming out and saying I wouldn't pay for any learning. Well, Kyle, you live at home. When someone always pays, your parents are paying. But anyways, continue.
Wow. Okay. Let's stop the fighting, kids. Let's stop the fighting. You did throw the first rocket there, Kyle. So,
Yeah.
but go ahead. Continue.
Okay. So if we imagine this younger Paul in like a calculus course, say he's absolutely flunking calculus 1 or whatever, like his approach to getting some help on that's probably going to look like, I'm going to go to, I guess it would have been the paper at the time, and I'm going to go find a tutor, and I'm going to go grab some time with them, right? I'm going to go get 30 minutes to talk with this expert to help me on this specific goal. We tried to replicate that in Clarity. So in the same way that Paul, when he's flunking calculus, he could have called up a tutor and said, hey, I need 30 minutes with you. We wanted to try and have our own experts in Clarity that you can get some time with. So when you said you go make a session, those 5 tutors that you mentioned, those are the ones that we curated as the Clarity kind of platform owners of experts.
Nice.
So we have an expert at building pipeline, and you can go talk to them as much as you want about building pipeline. We have a separate expert for the other things that you listed there. And then taking that one step further, because this is a part of Clarity I'm really passionate about, we see it as a platform. So it's not just you get to go talk to our 5 experts. We also try and enable you to make your own experts as part of what Clarity is really trying to solve. So instead of us just sending you into these 5 pre-canned ones that we made, sure, they're great. They're experts at what we set them up to do. But if you want to have one that's really good at helping you send out prospecting emails, that's not something that we've built, but we give you a way to make that expert yourself and then send that to other people and make that more public so that other people can leverage your expertise that you sort of encoded in the Clarity platform as one of our tutors.
All right. Look, I named 5 of them. What's your favorite of those 5? If you were to go into one, which one would you go into?
I'm very partial to our build pipeline and work on ideal. Those were our original 2. Build
They're
pipeline,
cool.
I'll say, is my personal favorite there.
They're
I'm
awesome.
going to go into build pipeline here. I go into build a pipeline. The cool thing is it'll ask me what product. Well, I'm going to go into AI agents here. Then it'll ask me, do I want to include industry so I can make it industry centric? Why don't we just do that? I'm just going to take the top one, which is automotive. And then I'm going to go down here to sector, and I'm going to say I'm an automotive manufacturer. I'm going to hit a create session. And so it's starting to create this session. Then this tutor comes up, and I can ask it anything about AI agents in the automotive industry. Over to the right, I've got a learning studio that I can do an interactive podcast that's built on those topics, a practice gym, and a client role play. Look, here's what I do, guys. I use this a lot. I do like the interactive podcast when I'm going to go meet a client. I will put that out there. The cool thing about the interactive podcast, if you're doing it live, a lot of times I'll be in the car, so I'll listen to it. I'll download it to my phone or something, and it's amazing. It's 2 people talking about it, so I learn really well that way. But the other thing you can do is you can interrupt the podcast, and it will literally stop, and they'll say, "Oh, somebody from the audience has a question," and then it'll answer that question, which is freaking amazing. But the other thing I find really interesting in the practice, and I did this on stage, you guys know, with a colleague of mine, where you can do a cold call, and you're calling a customer, and it'll give you the persona of the client, whether it's a CIO, the industry, blah, 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 what they do for fun, all this stuff. So you get this background you can read in like 5 minutes or so. And then you go in there and you try to do a cold call, and you see how well you do, and then it rates you. It's amazing. I mean, it's nearly like you're talking to somebody on the other end of the line. What was also funny is you can also choose the dynamics of the caller. What I mean by that is what kind of mood they're in, whether they're pro IBM, whether they're not pro IBM. And the funny thing, when I did it on stage, it was kind of a bit where the colleague went up there and he chose the easy version, somebody that's very kind to IBM. And then he hands it to me, and then it's somebody that's really ticked off, doesn't want to be called. And they're asking, why are you calling? I only got 5 minutes. And I'm like, rush, trying to do it. But I mean, it's really, really great training, all against AI. And you can do it. I think you were saying this, Matt, in the privacy of your office, your cube, at home, whatever. So you can practice and get really good without having to embarrass yourself in front of people like I did in front of all those the people who were in the audience.
Al, you did great. You did great. But let me append to this for a second, because there's 2 kind of things. One is, you may not know this, and this is the cool thing of how we build a product. We have folks from different eras, different generations. And so Kyle coded in a beast mode, by the way, into it's a hidden mode when you stand and deliver, and you can't win. They'll hang up on you. It's very rude. So it's kind of like Triumph the insult dog at you. But this is what I want you to think about. You guys are hearing some use cases we're putting to learning. But I always say, go horizontal to go vertical. So let me give you 2 examples. The code call. And someone might say, well, I've got 24 years at IBM. I'm not brand new. I know how to talk to a client. What about in a new job? Like maybe you've just become a manager and you never interviewed someone before. Maybe you have to do some disciplinary action as a human resources professional, and you have to have a conversation. Maybe you're a brand new teacher. You want to practice talking to 5-year-olds how you're going to explain something. So that's a really cool thing. And then on the podcast, I would say 2 things. Matt's come up with the idea, we're coding this now on the side, is right now it's a Q&A podcast. What if it was a debate and you were one of the debaters? And then the host would have you debate with another AI. So we're really playing on that. But in that go horizontal, go vertical, Cleveland Clinic uses podcast technology. What they do is a nurse goes in to visit their charge duties. They will have their iPad with all physiological and the health stuff, but they get like a 2 to 3 minute podcast on that particular patient. Maybe they're lonely. Maybe they're a big, Kansas City Chiefs fan and therefore extremely disappointed in football. No offense, Al. Or maybe it's their friends haven't visited in a while. And it really hyper personalizes things. So whether it's hyper personalizing your message to the client or services you're providing, these are new modalities of communications that are not just bespoke to learning. We just happen to use them now.
I would love the debater, by the way. Sign me up for that one, because that's how I learn a lot when you get into it and then you hear somebody else's point of view and then you debate it. I took a class I'll never forget that was talking about public speaking, and you had to you pull like a topic from the list, from a bowl, and it could be any topic, and it could be a controversial topic, and you pull it out and you got to debate for it. And sometimes it was stuff you disagreed with wholeheartedly, but you had to debate for it. I learned some of the most in terms of trying to come up with reasons why I would do it. And you get to sit in the other person's chair that you disagree with. Anyway, that would be an awesome addition. I do want to go on to architecture, but before I do, anything, Matt, Kyle, that you want to add? There's so much to talk about with Clarity and its offerings and a new way of training and teaching and driving enablement. Anything that you guys are super passionate about, maybe your favorite feature that you want to jump in on, and then we'll go into architecture.
My favorite feature is Kyle. I don't know if I can choose that or not, but I think
is he an AI? Yeah, he might be an AI.
Sometimes I wonder, Al, with this top 50 in chess flex that he keeps coming out with.
Yes.
Look, exactly. On a serious note, I think yes, it's about enablement, etc. But I think the big shift that we have, if we take a step back, that we see, is really what is Clarity, right? Generative AI comes on the scene and everyone's using ChatGPT, right? I think there was like a 500% increase in corporate data in AI tools. Yet 75% of accounts on ChatGPT are personal, right? People are using it for work. It's the whole shadow IT trend. Then you start to see companies now, okay, we should be getting on board with this. We should be empowering employees. And that's happening today, right? Which is great. I think we're in a great time. But what's kind of next really is thinking about AI applications. And Paul touched on this with like AI Plus, right? It's a little bit like when the iPhone launched and there are some systems that are trying to shrink their traditional desktop screens down to the size of a phone, where you've got other people actually, they're inventing new ways of doing things. Uber's coming out with mobile apps for taxi hailing, for example. So the whole generative AI piece is changing the paradigm for applications. And what Clarity is an AI application. And that's why it's not just about chatting. You've got the whole context stuff, you've got the podcast stuff there, you've got the ability to practice something. When you think of it as an experience to deliver that's underpinned by AI, you create something completely different to just adding AI to an LMS or adding AI to a training system or something. And that paradigm shift is really key. And that's why Kyle is my favorite feature, because bringing it back around, because we have great ideas. I'm a big believer in user experience and innovation. Having someone like Kyle who is able to make these ideas come to life, to challenge each other and doing it in such a positive way, great culture of building things, being innovative, I think is absolutely the number one feature of Clarity, for sure.
Awesome. I'm sensing a little like a love fest between you and Kyle, and then you guys like to pick on Paul. I kind of like it, actually. It works for me. I think it's pretty good.
Al, you know what? Jealousy changes people in different ways.
Oh, that's what it is, huh? Okay. Kyle, what's your favorite feature?
Okay. So obviously my favorite feature is Matt Bateson.
Yeah, see? Good answer.
Yeah. No, page out of Tom Brady's playbook here. Favorite feature is the next one, the one that's coming up next, the next thing that we're going to release. And it ties into Matt's point and your kind of broader point here, Al, about where we are with AI. There is so much to do, right? Clarity is just one piece of an implementation. There is so many things that we can optimize, we can build on with AI right now in this space. I feel like a kid in a candy store. And it's like, I am just giddy at the thought of all these things that we're planning to add, the things that we want to add, and looking back on the things we built. Sure, there's a lot of cool stuff there, but like the things that I'm really excited about are the things that we are still working on, the things that we want to be launching next year or next month or whatever.
Well, give us a hint. You can't just leave a cliffhanger like that, man.
Okay.
What do you think?
I already kind of stole my thunder on one of them, but we don't currently have the feature for a presentation creation and video overview. That's coming. So as part of like the same way that you'd use the podcast for driving to work or driving to a client meeting, you get to listen to it. We're going to have a presentation voiced over with slides explaining a concept to you that can be generated on the fly as well.
Oh, that's nice. I like that. Well, when is that going to be available? We need that yesterday.
We're playing with it. It's there.
Yeah.
We're actually...
See, I can never get a date from Paul.
Yeah, no, we're pumping it up. Like these guys, they had it and it's going, and we're like, but we want to be able to generate slides in the flat template design for IBM. Now that's what they're kind of working on, so that will be cool. But that goes to a bigger one for the favorite feature. I do like what you said, Kyle. Like I do want to say my favorite feature is Paul Zikopoulos, but that would seem really weird. So, but it would go with the flow here. But you know what it is? It's the features that are coming. Like if you stand too much and admire what you've done, you're not going to get where the place you have to go. And for me, it's dynamic learning. So like we're so used to this linear path. This is course 101, 201, 301. We do that in university. We do that in high school. We do that at IBM. And creating a non-linear learning plan. You still need the linear. That's it. And what we're talking about on the video generation, the podcast generation with the debate. What if you came in and we had like an interrogation experience, a multimodal interrogation experience, Al? So that might be us having a conversation with an AI. Maybe it's answering some questions. Maybe it's responding. You've been asked to respond to this in an RFP. You type it in. All those modalities. And maybe it's even, if you're a technical person, you have a buffer overflow condition in your database, and now you have to disposition it. And then AI watches how you do it, how quick you do it. You can access anything. Bring all that together. So I do some kind of initial assessment. And from there, I'll generate you a dynamic learning plan on what you need to know. That will have explainer videos, may have a full presentation, may have some podcasts, may have some exercises, may have some external resources. That is our North Star. And that way, I'm going to get ready to go talk to a client about this. And maybe I don't quite know about this feature, but I know all the other stuff. Boom, we'll bring it right in based on your assessment. I can't wait till we get there. And in the meantime, we're just going to keep delivering components that get us there. Slowly but surely, progress, not perfection, as we hear so often.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Nice job, guys. Look, I love Clarity. I think it's going to redefine how we drive training. It's already doing that internally. But as I keep saying on throughout this podcast, it just shows or shines a light on what you can do with AI. And there's a ton of other use cases. I do want to hit the architecture therein, because some of the architecture is consistent around what we would do around other use cases. I mean, sure, every architecture is a little bit unique, but this is just something that IBM does incredibly well. We're using it here in Clarity as a client zero function. But would anybody be willing to describe how this architecture is set up, how you guys create it or construct it such that it does all the functionality that you guys just went through? Anybody want to take that? Matt, you going to take it? Matt will take it.
I can take it. Kyle can correct me with all the details. So fundamentally, we're running on IBM Cloud. That gives us access to spin things up super quick. We're serverless, so we're running a lot of the services on Code Engine, Cloud Code Engine. We have a front end, which obviously is very carefully crafted, and that front end leverages a bunch of back-end services. We use watsonx AI for inferencing, so all of the AI inferencing we use. We use watsonx Discovery for all of our context retrieval and storage, so the RAG patterns that we have. We get documents in. I've talked a few times about adding documents to Clarity. So for that, we use something called Docling, which is an open source IBM research project that can ingest documents and bring them into an LLM's context. So if I want to add a company report or an RFP and bring that in, then that's the service we use for that. We have a traditional application database, as you'd expect, all running in IBM Cloud as well. Then we do use a couple of external services. So we made a conscious decision, right? We don't just want to build everything because it's got an IBM logo. We want to use the best of breed that's really out there to truly create a great experience for our target audience. So to achieve that, for the text-to-speech services, we're using a third-party vendor called 11 Labs, who are the market leader in AI voice creation. And the final piece, which is really allowing people to consume on the go, so like having a listen to the podcast in the car as I'm driving, we use Twilio to deliver those SMS as just a text message. Right? So a very, very small part of the platform that makes a big difference. I can send a podcast to myself and listen to it on the go while I'm commuting or whatever, walking the dog, as I like to do. And really, they're the key services behind the platform, right? And it's not that, again, Carl, you can correct me here if you want to add anything, but it's not really the complexity of the platform. It's just the ability to spin these things up super quick. So I don't have to host LLMs, I don't have to do all that time-consuming stuff. I can focus on building something that's going to be great and deliver value. And that allows us to be super quick, which, as we know, is the only way to be successful these days.
Well, I was going to jump in real quick to what I love about and then Kyle, you take it home because you're the architect behind it. But what I love about the architecture, it's nice for us to talk about what we love, and then Kyle can either correct or say where he's going. Kyle really designed this thing modularly, right? So as Matt talked about, like right now, 11 Labs is SOTA, state of the art or frontier model for voice to text. But we think that's going to change in the next year as every model, last year's state of the art is this year's common. So when it's modular like that, we can plug in whatever we think is going to give the best experience, right? So if it's open source catches up, we'll plug that in. Same with the models, right? We can use Granite, we can use Llama, we can use GPT, OSS, we can use whatever, Anthropic, we can use any model we want. So that to me is the big part of the architecture that I love. And it's modular. And as we put services in that enhance the experience, we're there. And Kyle, you go from here on any parts that we've missed on the architecture.
Yeah, so you guys got it exactly right. I mean, not surprisingly, but the one thing I would add just in terms of kind of some background on it is the seed that was planted that turned into this project was made while I was a tech seller with my friend Sarajan. And we went and we started a project inside of IBM. So this thing really is IBM first at its core behind all of the architecture pieces, because this was just two tech sellers that had a void in their ability to practice and wanted to throw something together. And we used everything internally that we could. We kept scaling up from there. And we really stuck to that story of we are going to use the awesome stuff that we already have as a company to make something even more awesome to fill this void that we see. So that is really at the core of all the architecture description you heard from Matt and Paul of just, this is modular, but we are using IBM where we can, where we are market leaders and where we think that we can service what we want to do with our internal tools.
Nicely wrapped up. Hey, Kyle, I got to ask you this. How many cigarettes you smoke in a day to get that voice? Come on, man. 2 packs? Is that a 2-pack voice? It's got to be a 2-pack voice.
1 pack when I first wake up and then 1 right before bed. Yeah.
It's a Rothman red guy. Rothman's red guy right there.
Or did you get that your dad have that voice too?
No. And the crazy part, you wouldn't believe it, I've had this voice since I was 14. I was a literal child looking like grade 9 me, and I had this exact same voice.
Since he was 6. That's how deep it's been.
Wow. Okay. There's one other question I wanted to ask, just for like the external customers that are listening. How much, I don't know if you guys can answer this, but ballpark, how much do you think this would cost to get started? If you're an external customer doing the same stuff that you're doing.
Do you mean?
I'll fire in there because it's not a question of putting in the cost. Why would you not start to engage with us? Hint, hint, hint. Because we've got the scar tissue, the hips, the falls, and the breadth of what we have comes from customers and engaging them. So don't worry about it. Work out with us. How's that sound? Is that a fair answer?
I don't want the best no answer. You could be in politics, Paul.
Yeah, there you go. Come buy it from us. We'll make it available soon enough, I hope.
I think you can start it relatively small. I mean, you're going to spend money to make money in this case is what I'm trying to say. I'm going to end with this question for you guys. You guys are heavy into AI. Outside of enablement, what's your tip of the week? Well, like you were talking tips of the week earlier, Paul, where we got to do 20 minutes of stretching. I'm going to give you maybe 5 to 10, but for the rest of you can do 20 minutes. I'm talking about the tip of the week in terms of how can you put agents or AI to work in your job or what you're doing that you would say, hey, this is what I've learned. This is what I'm doing every day. I think you should do it as well. Why don't you start, Kyle? Can I give it to you first?
Let's do it. So I'm coming from the developer perspective because still a lot of my day is managing a team of developers and doing some dev work myself. I don't think people realize how far along some of the agentic AI systems that are out there to help us with those processes are. Even internally, we have Bob, this somewhat new system that's out, which is life-changing in terms of its ability to help us code and ability to prototype very, very quickly as developers. I think functionally every developer on the planet should be having one of these as their right-hand man, be it Bob or anything else, to help them with their processes in developing.
All right. Have an AI IDE or bot or something you're working with every day to help you be more productive. That's what I heard.
100%.
Yeah. All right, Matt, what do you got?
So my one is starting with a clear focus on the user experience that you want to provide. Right. AI makes everything, as Carl just said, so much faster to build. We can do magical things with LLMs and create a great application or great thing, and it's cool. But if it doesn't bring value, it's only going to last 5 minutes, right? If it's hard to use. So it's the same stuff that applied in every generation of technology we've seen so far. If we're building stuff, it has to be easy to use and it has to serve a real valuable purpose. So, if you're thinking of building anything with AI, getting started, just make sure you have a good focus on what business problems are you trying to solve and how's the experience going to work for someone. That's probably my number one tip.
All right, Paul.
Yeah, I'm going to give you 2 because I like to overachieve. I'm going to give you one personal one and one business one. If business, okay. I want you to test your org's ambition. And here's the question. Are we setting goals that are impossible to achieve without AI augmentation? Because if you can achieve the goals in 2026 with mere humans, they're too small in the age of AI. Right? It's not about replacing. It's about augmenting, giving you superpowers to do more. Kyle got at that at the speed at which we code. When you asked what it costs to build this thing, like I'll tell you, this thing got off the ground with like 3 people. Over a couple months. So I cheekily said, come buy it, but it's true. You can get it going. The other thing, I can give you a personal thing. Folks are all using either agents or you're directly interacting with your ChatGPT or Google Gemini. Add this to the end of every single prompt. It'll completely change your life. At the end of every prompt, write, ask me any clarifying questions. These big LLMs will come back and they'll say, who's the audience? Who is this? What is this? What is this? You answer, they'll give you 4 or 5 questions. Type the number 1, straight answer, just a bullet. Answer 2, answer 3, answer 4. The results of your prompts will increase 30-40% the performance and your satisfaction. Best tip I can give you, those using AI, weekend warriors.
I think it's great.
Yeah, there you go.
I think it's great. One thing that I always ask is, what haven't I thought of at the end of a prompt as well, which is similar. And it'll come up with, I didn't think of that. That's pretty good.
It's amazing.
It is amazing. And to your earlier comment, starting with 3 people, when we started this endeavor, I remember some of the leaders in the industry out there talking about, when will we have the first $1 billion company of one? It's going to happen. We will have a $1 billion company with one person behind the wheel at some point, leveraging the technologies that we have. And if I could add one as well, the issue I have with some of the big LLMs, and I use them, whether it's Gemini or OpenAI, but I don't like that they're not open. which is kind of ironic. Sometimes they say that they're open, they're not open. I mean, what I mean by open is I should be able to know where the data is coming from. They shouldn't be tracking my data, and they're all tracking your data. Even when you say, hey, don't track my data, they say, well, okay, we'll not track your data, but we need to track it until we decide you're not doing anything nefarious, and then we won't track it. So in other words, they're tracking it. Not like I'm doing anything nefarious. But what I like to do is I like smaller LLMs. People go, I have them downloaded. I have 4 right now downloaded on my laptop that I use every day. So unless it's something I need to go outside for. So I ask a lot of stupid questions. So I can ask stupid questions all day long, right by myself. I can learn, and it's on my laptop here. And it takes 20 minutes to download it. You go to Olama if you want to use Olama, and then download any model you want. And there's smaller models that work great. I don't know why we have to use a multi-billion parameter model all the time.
Great tip. That's a great tip. Olama is a solid piece of what I do every day. It keeps it. Think of it as the incognito browser of ChatGPT, right? So there you go.
I don't use, which is funny, is I don't use, and no harm, no foul against Google here, but I don't use Google to search anything anymore. Do you guys? I really don't. I get everything.
Yeah. Well, even when you search on Google, they give you a Gemini summary at the top.
They do now.
But yeah, I believe that. And that's why Google's up their game. If you looked at it, Sam Altman called code red because of the latest Gemini release. Because Google's like, we can't not lose the search, but we're going to move search to AI. And then that's what you're seeing there for sure.
Yeah. Gemini is pretty good, the latest one. And the visuals are pretty good. In fact, I'm going to put some pictures at home of my dog surfing on the back of my boat. It is amazing. You just say, here's my boat, here's my dog, here's the surfboard, here's the wave, create a picture that has all that put together. We're out on the lake on a sunny day. And it's freaking amazing. And then you can print it. Anyway, so many things about AI is going to change our world. Hopefully we add the governance that we didn't even get into today to make sure that things are safe and sound as we go forward. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate your expertise today. Very informational. I learned a lot. Thank you.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah. Happy holidays. We'll probably submit this, by the way, after the first of the year, so it'll be published. I thank everybody for listening as always. Hit me on almartintalksdata@gmail.com. Anything you want to hear about, we'll put it on. Thank you, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.